Okay, lesson 5, chapter 2, last lesson of the chapter, so we are moving right along, another chapter down. All right, so we are moving on to solving multi-step equations. So if the last lesson that we talked about with variables on both sides, we talked about having unruly teenagers, that's the point we had gotten to. I'd say these are now like college age, young adult kind of equations. So not the worst you're ever going to see, but they're more complicated than before. But again, nothing that you can't handle. So you've got something that looks like this. Solve 15 parentheses 20 plus d equals 420. This right here should pop out to you as saying 15 times what we've got in here. So recently, whenever we've done exponents, and I know we've talked a little bit about the distributive property, that's what that is. So let me go ahead and put it up here so you can put this in your notes. Because, oh yeah, you are taking notes every time, right? Should be. Distributive property. And you will probably most often see it look something like this, maybe in a textbook or on the internet. Which basically what this means is that it's A times everything inside. So it's A times B plus A times C. So it's kind of a little bit what we've done with exponents lately, making sure that everything outside went to everything inside. So same kind of deal. All right, so if we've got 15 times 20, that's where the 300 comes from. 15 times d, 15d. All right, so once after you do that, you've got the equation that we've solved before. 300 plus 15d equals 420. So subtract 300 from both sides. I've got 15d equals 120. Then I just divide both sides by 15, answer's 8. All right, so that part is no different than what we've done before. This is the only new part. So right here, you're going to distribute. Right here, you're going to distribute. So I want you to go ahead and pause, try those, and come back and we will work them together. All right, so on A, if I'm going to distribute that, I'm going to distribute a negative 3 to both. So I would have negative 27, that's negative 3 times 9, and negative 3 times x is a negative 3x equals 33. So I've got my letters already by itself on one side. I've got plain numbers on both. So if my letters are on the left, I'm going to take plain numbers to the right. So I'm going to add 27. So do not forget to bring this negative sign down. That's a common mistake. So bring that negative sign down. 3x equals 60. Divide by negative 3. X is equal to negative 20. And now let's do B. If I'm going to distribute 5 times A, that would be 5A. 5 times 8, negative 7, will be a negative 35, equals 25. So my letters are already by itself, so I'm going to take this plain number to the other side, so I have to put a plus 35 underneath it. So that is gone, so I've got 5A equals, that's a 35. So that would be a 60. So divide by 5, divide by 5. A is equal to 12. All right, so really no different, just one extra step, and then it looks like what we have done previously. Now, the next section, probably not anything you've heard of before. All right, so we need to talk about, up until now, every equation that we've done has had an answer. It's one answer. You get down to x equals 4, x equals negative 8, m equals 7, whatever it is. There's one answer. Now you've got different possibilities. Not every equation has an answer. All right? Up until now, ours have looked like this. Let me get my pen back here. Ours have looked like this. But now you have other options. The null set, or as you learned from our vocab, that also means the empty set. What that means is there's not an answer. That's a no solution. All right? So if you come up with something, let's say this equation right here, 3x plus 4 equals 3x. So I've got my plain numbers on one side, so I need to take my letters to the other. So if I subtract 3x from this side, and if I subtract 3x on this side, that is gone. On this side, I've got 4 equals, well, this side is gone, so that's 0. So surely you can tell me that 4 can never equal 0. So it doesn't matter what I can put in here for x. If I put in a 2, so 2 times 3 is 6 plus 4 is 10, that will never equal 6, ever. Doesn't matter what value you put in for x, they will never equal each other. So anytime you have something where the letters completely fall out and all you have left is a false statement, when it is a false statement, you can give me, I'll let you give me a couple of answers. You can say no solution, because there is no solution for that. So that is something you can give me. You can write out the words null set or empty set, or you can just give me their solutions. So that is the null set, and then you've got the empty set. All right, I'm going to say most of you will probably pick this one, which is fine. There's no answer for that. All right, the only other thing that we need to talk about would be the ones for identity. So this is the ones where not only does it have an answer, but it has an infinite amount of answers. So if I give you 4x plus 2 equals 4x plus 2. So right away, your mind should pick up on the fact that this side is exactly the same as this side. All right? So if I start subtracting some things, minus 2, minus 2, leaves me with 4x equals 4x. And again, if I subtract 4x from both sides, this side falls out, leaving a 0, equals this side falls out, leaving a 0. 0 equals 0. That is a true statement. I don't care what number you put in for x, you will always get this. 0 is always equal to 0 under each and every circumstances you could possibly have. So in that case, your solution is all numbers. Or you could actually write out the word identity. Don't leave it just like this. You need to write out the words all numbers. Sometimes you will see it say all real numbers. E-R-S, all real numbers. All real numbers, or you can even write identity. Now, it's not identical, it's identity. All right? So we're going to work through some problems that have different numbers of solutions. Before we move on, I do want to call some attention to this right here. This and this, not just anytime you don't want to finish an answer, you write out no solution. Okay? That's not what it is. Or, I don't know, I'm just going to say it's a no solution. It doesn't happen all that often. Most of the time you will have a one solution. So most of the time that's what it's going to be right there. Just a regular, ordinary equation. All right, so let's move down and try some with these. So it says solve 6 times parentheses x minus 3 plus 10 equals 2 parentheses 3x minus 4. Okay. So just to get some practice solving that, because that's a multi-step equation. So I'm going to distribute. That will give me 6x. I'm going to distribute minus 18. And I've still got my plus 10 on that side. Okay, other side. I've got 2 times 3x, which is 6x, and a 2 times a negative 4, negative 8. All right, so notice on this side, I've got two plain numbers. I'm going to go ahead and combine those two right there together. So my 6x I will bring down. Negative 18 plus 10, go ahead and combine those, you get negative 8 equals 6x minus 8. Now again, something should pop out at you right here. Both sides are exactly the same. So that's going to be an identity, but let's go ahead and work it out just to show you. If I add 8 to both sides, I get 6x equals 6x. Subtract 6x from this side, subtract 6x from this side, I end up with nothing. 0 equals 0. So again, I do not leave it like that. I am going to write out the words all real numbers. Now, if you don't want to put the word real in there, that's fine. This as long as you have all numbers. So do not leave it as this. You do have to put that in there. All right? Let's try the next one here. 8 parentheses 4 minus 2x equals 4 parentheses 3 minus 5x plus 4x. Put my end parentheses there. All right, so I'm going to distribute 32, and that's a minus 2x, so that's be 8 times the negative 2x is negative 16x, equals 4 times 3, which is 12, and then that is minus 20x, 20, come on, honey, plus 4x. All right, so this side I have nothing to combine, so I'm just going to go ahead and rewrite that. 32 minus 16x equals this side. I've got a negative 20x and a positive 4x. So the 12 I'm just going to bring down. Negative 20 and a positive 4 is a negative 16x. All right, so let's add 16x to both sides. If I add 16x to both sides, you see that they both cancel, which basically leaves me with 32 equals 12. And no way, shape, or form would 32 ever equal 12. All right, so whenever the variables fall out and you have something left that is false, 32 does not equal 12, you can give me this, which is a symbol for the null set. You can also tell me this, no solution. So if you were going to write something down in your notebook today, here is what I would write. It can have one solution, which is like x equals 4. Just, that's supposed to be a 4. Just our normal, everyday kind of answer. All right? It can have no solution. Or it could have infinite, which means like you can't count how many. Infinite solutions. In either of these last two cases, no solution or an infinite solution, here's what will happen at the end. All variables, so all letters, disappear. They will all fall out. And you will be left with either something that looks like this, 4 equals 4, which would be this one, infinite solution or all real numbers, or you're going to be left with something that is false, like 4 equals negative 8, which would be a no solution. All right? So if all the letters disappear and you end up with something that looks like this, that is true. So that is in all real numbers. Most of the time it will probably end up looking like this, but it could be a number equal a number. That is true. That is in all real numbers. That's what you would write, all real numbers. If you come up with something that looks like this, 0 equals 7, that is false. So that would be a no solution. All right? So make sure that you've got that in your notes, because that is something that's very important for you to remember. All right. So going back up here, I want you to pause and try the examples on the bottom of this page. If it will ever go back there. Pause and try C and D. All right. So once you are back, you will see that C comes out matching on both sides. So if it comes out matching on both sides, you would either write out identity, or you would write out all real numbers, because both sides match and that is true. On D, you can give me the symbol for the null set, or you can write out the words no solution. Okay? One of the two, because in both of these cases, the numbers completely disappear. Here you've got something that equals itself. Here you've got something that doesn't equal it. So that would be your choice. All right, so with that, I'm going to leave you to the rest of them. Try them, and as always, ask me again tomorrow, whatever questions you might have and whichever ones we need to work out together, and I would be more than happy to do that with you. Good luck.